It's the Millsy and Keza show. That's
Episode 4.
4. My gosh. It has that. I'm gonna have to say that jingle does sound very much like the Itchy and Scratchy show.
I was, yes, or is it the Muppets or something?
Yeah,
Like,
no, the Itchy and Scratchy show.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
copyright.
definitely ringing a bell back there, but I couldn't quite work it out.
It's interesting though, is that it's like, is there such a thing as an original idea, or do we just build on the ideas of the people before us?
Well, there's, I think there's still a lot of originality out there, but when you can take a proven method and put your own spin and make it better and re-release it, more power to you.
Absolutely. Well, that's Tony Robbins' success principles 101. It's success leaves clues and stand on the shoulders of giants. So he
Ah,
basically says, model me. Like, in coaching we call it modeling. Most people might call it copying or stealing.
plagiarism.
Yeah, yeah. We've had a few of those.
That's
But
it.
God bless them on their journey. But yeah, so yeah, it's standing on the shoulders of giants. Like it's yeah, I've often pondered: is there such thing as an original idea? And maybe not for like for a generator type, because we're here to respond to things. So we
Yes,
respond to
yes.
things that other people present to us, and then build on it.
It's hard, isn't it? Because sometimes you have, I don't know about you, but right, there are so many times where I've almost heard a whisper of an idea,
Hmm.
and then it's spurred me into action, and then I like, was I inspired by that, or did I come up with that, and that was just that little tipping point that got me to where I needed to be?
Hmm.
And it's like, is this my idea, or have I actually stolen something already existing? It
Yeah.
hmm.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, have you heard it before? Maybe in your unconscious, it was
It's
locked
sitting back there
away
in the
in the
subs.
back
Yeah,
there. Yep, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But sometimes as well, like sometimes it's the right combination of information lands at the right time and you get like a big breakthrough and a big aha moment as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's that synchronicity of different information being said from you or being told to you by people who have just said it in slightly different ways. And it's just like, oh, landed. Because
Yeah.
one of the, and I'll tell you the story behind that particular statement, is
Hmm.
I was just listening this morning to, where was it? It was a podcast called, oh my goodness, I can't even think of it. Hang on. Women in something. Hang on. I shared it with to Nikki Brigandy actually. So let me just find out what the name of it was. Um, Women of Influence, Women of Impact.
Hmm.
And it led me to, so Lisa, it wasn't Lisa Nichols, it was Lisa someone else who runs this particular podcast. I can't remember what her last name is, but she was interviewing Oprah Winfrey's coach, who
Oh yeah.
happens to be like, what I'd love to be on her payroll, I tell you
Oh
what.
yeah.
Getting paid by Oprah. Hang on, I'm just trying to find what her name was. Brenda something, I think, or oh, here we are. Oh God, I can't even find. It was in Diary of a CEO. Anyway, you know how one thing leads to another thing leads to
Hmm.
another. And everyone's jumping off now because they're going to get to the frigging point, Carrie. Right. One thing leads to another leads to another. Anyway, Oprah Winfrey's coach, I think it's Brenda or someone or other. Anyway. And
Hmm.
she was saying, now, in my 2025, not 2025 live, in my Seven Slays to Life program, one of the slays to life, if you can slay this particular thing, you will have a life of passion and excitement and expansion. And one of the pillars is holding uncertainty. So, another word for that is dealing with your anxiety.
Mm.
And when I was deep diving into what my coaching message was, like what was the message for my business and what was my little one line, how we all like to have our one little spiel at the bottom of it, one, our, what do you call it, elevator pitch kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and it was like, yeah, I'm wanting to help women with dealing with uncertainty, like us needing to know what happens, because we're like, when you're diving deep, it's like, so so we do tarot. So you and I both do tarot, and we both like intuitively tap into things. And it's like, why do women love that? Why do women love human design so much? Why do women love the tarot so much? Because they can't hold uncertainty very well. They
Mm.
want to know what's happening. And
Mm-hmm.
especially with women, they're like, tell me whatever's happening, just tell me what it is. I don't care how bad it is, just warn me. It's kind of like if we can figure out if we can know exactly what's going on, then we can prepare for it, and we'll be okay, and we'll know that we'll be able to handle it. But it's the uncertainty of not knowing what's happening, that's what scares us. So here's the next thing. Why does it scare us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we are story making
Yes.
machines. We preempt, like if we don't know what's going to happen, then we start creating a story around what's going to happen. And our imagination and our ability to tell ourselves all these weird, wild, and wacky kind of stories, and we catastrophize because there's protection in it, right? Because if we think of the worst possible case scenario, we'll be prepared for it. But our brain doesn't know the difference between something actually happening and us making it up. So it's going to start
Like
flooding
a
us.
perceived threat or a real threat. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to start racing with those thoughts because it starts spiraling out of control. Because, and what if that happens? And then what if that happens? And what if that happens? And then our body gets on board and our heart starts thumping and our
Mm-hmm.
extremities tingle and our blood supply goes to our amygdala and all these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's all about, yeah, holding that uncertainty. Now, where was I going with that? I had a connection there.
Yeah.
What was it?
Can I
It was
pick it up? Oh, I'll
yeah.
pick up your
I've
connection if you
written it.
like.
I've written in my journal. Hang on,
Yeah.
pause
Yeah.
it, and I'll grab my journal because I
Yeah.
journaled it. Okay, hang on.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I'm coming.
Cut that bit out.
Okay, that's it.
And you're back.
Yeah. So Martha Beck is the name of Oprah's coach.
Okay.
Okay. So why do we have anxiety? So her whole lead into this conversation was human beings are the only people who will commit suicide
Mm.
and still do commit suicide. Animals don't do that. So, and why do we commit suicide? Because we have anxiety, because we make up stories about a future that we can't handle. So death seems better. That was the
Mm-hmm.
lead into the conversation. So
Right.
this was my sort of thoughts around that. And I thought to myself, I need to write this down really quickly before it falls out of my head. So why do we have anxiety? Because we create a fearful story around what might happen in the future. And it's usually more terrifying than the reality or our actual lives.
Mm-hmm.
This is why suicide rates are so high, because the story we make up is worse than living, and it spirals.
Mm.
So this is why we have such a poor relationship with uncertainty. We don't mind how bad it gets as long as we know, and then our imagination won't run wild and create a whole heap of other stories of what might possibly happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we are hardwired for stories. So imagine, so here's the clincher, right? And I haven't finished watching all of this podcast, but I'm very excited to. But it was 2.25 hours long, and I thought I can't start watching this at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But it's like, so in my 6 day challenge that I just ran recently, a lot of women spiral into the what ifs. Oh, what if I fail? What if I stuff up? What if I lose money? What if I'm wasting time? What if this isn't for me? What if, what if, what if, what if? And we catastrophize the what ifs. But what if we could spiral up instead of down? What if this is the best thing that I've ever done? What if this turns out to be the thing that turns my life around? What if this is the thing that will support me and my family for the rest of our lives? What if this is the next step towards greatness? What if, what if, what if, what if? So spiral that what if up instead of spiraling it down,
Perfect.
and think of what the difference it makes. So
Yeah.
isn't it interesting how, like, and I'm sure our listeners can definitely resonate with, like, they love tarot
Mm-hmm.
because they want to know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So they feel like they've got some sort of onus of control because of, us women, we love control. And also the other thing that she touched on briefly as well was purpose. And it was like, so people need purpose. And that's the first thing that they come to coaches for as well. What's my purpose? Why am I here? And we're probably the only creature that ponders that as well. Like dogs, cats, llamas, you know, aardvarks, they don't care why they're here. They just live out their life and they don't think about it,
Mm-hmm.
but we do. And so why do people love astrology? Why do they love human design? They want to know their purpose.
That's it.
They want to
And
know.
in the absence of facts, our brain, like you said, makes up the stories. But the negative ones are the ones that keep us small and keep us safe, because
Mm-hmm,
our ego doesn't like change, right? We
mm-hmm,
So the ego is the one that wants us small and safe. The ego is the one that lives in our mind. The ego is the one that fills the gaps, usually with negative rather than positive.
mm-hmm. Because there's
And
safety in it.
correct. And that's all in terms of like my background in the adult chair, that's all very adolescent type behavior because it's all
Mm-hmm.
survivor behavior.
Yep.
So it is what we're hardwired to do.
Yeah.
So making that change and being the upward spiral is really hard to do. But we just pushing through the fear is
Yep. Yep.
such an important thing to do, and realizing that right here, right now, we're safe.
Mm-hmm.
Being a story buster, saying, okay, the what if, but chances are none of that's going to happen because let's face
Mm-hmm.
it, of all the bullshit stories we make, how
Mm-hmm.
much of it ever comes to pass?
Mm-hmm.
Tiny, tiny amounts, hardly anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to understand that, okay, well, why am I worrying about the 97% that's not going to come true when I could be thinking about the 3% of what if it really does go well and is awesome?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
It's just a different mindset, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Yep. And
To
it's
get through
also
uncertainty. Yeah.
there's so many layers in it as well. I've
Mm.
also heard another strategy, which is another really awesome strategy to use to deal with anxiety. If you are fearing a particular outcome, so say bankruptcy, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're shit scared of going bankrupt. You're shit scared of not having enough money to pay the bills one week, and that's your biggest fear. Put yourself there.
Mm.
Just put yourself there. Okay, you're going to put yourself in the situation, put your nervous system in the situation of you don't have money for the bills. And then go, right, what would you do? What would you do? Who's the first person you'd call? And what would you actually do? You would probably ring your parents, maybe ask for a loan. You might ring the phone company and say, look, I'm having trouble paying the bill this week. Can we postpone it till next week? Can we organize a payment plan? Like what? Like put yourself right in it, sensory, like how would you feel? What would you see? What would you hear? And that's your plan B. Like that's your plan. If you ever get into that, that's your plan. Because what we like, obviously, what we focus on is what we create. If you are
Mm-hmm.
focused on, I don't want to be bankrupt, don't want to be bankrupt, don't want to be bankrupt. All the universe is oh bankrupt, bankrupt, bankrupt,
Yes.
bankrupt. So
Yeah.
so
It
you're
doesn't
gonna
know positive and negative. It just hears the
exactly
word.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah. Like Esther Hicks says, every subject is two subjects, and
Mm-hmm.
it's what you want and the lack of what it is that you want. So if you want
Mm-hmm.
money, or there's the lack of money, which end of the
Mm-hmm.
stick are you holding? Which end,
Mm-hmm.
what are you focusing on?
Mm.
So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But yeah, if you are anxious about a certain outcome, just put yourself in there, and it all comes down to self-trust, like knowing that the biggest fear that we have, and this comes from that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I can't remember who wrote that book, but the biggest fear that people have is not being able to handle it. What does that
Mm.
even look like? I don't even know. Like, what do you do? Does the top of your head blow off and glitter explodes out? I don't know what not handling it looks like. But
Yeah.
that's their biggest fear, that they wouldn't, something would
Yeah.
happen and they wouldn't be able to handle it. Well, you've survived 100% of your hardest
Yes.
day.
Right. And it's the worst case scenario is always so much worse in our minds than what it can ever really be in reality.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
There you go
like Mel,
again.
there we are. There we are. $2. Melanie Ann Layer, who's a very well-off coach. I think she's been coaching for about 12 years now. She started coaching in the front seat of her Honda Civic, absolutely broke because
Wow.
she hit rock bottom and she wanted to get herself out of it. And so she started watching. She had her phone, but that's about all because she worked in sales, but she had nowhere to go. And so she was watching like YouTube on her phone, and she was learning all about energetics and, getting into Abraham Hicks and all that sort of thing. And she started coaching for $100 a session in the front seat of her car, bankrupt. And now she's like worth, I don't know, 80
Yeah.
million, whatever. So Like,
Amazing.
but that was her biggest fear, was bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And she manifested it and she got out of it, and look at her go now. So once you put yourself in that fear, you'll actually find it's not as bad as
Yeah.
what people imagine it would be.
And not giving in to the fears.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, pushing through that fear,
Pushing through it. Yeah.
because fear feels so big in our bodies, doesn't it? Like the heart starts going, our mouth starts getting dry because, the digestion slows
Mm-hmm.
down,
Mm-hmm.
our extremities start tingling, our gut drops, and like we might need to go to the toilet, whatever. It feels big. And when something that big is physiologically going on in our bodies, our brain goes, whoa, this must be huge because look at the reaction the body's having. So whatever it is we're about to do, we better stop because
Mm.
you're in danger here, girl. So we stop. We don't get beyond that discomfort that goes on in our body. But once we push through that, on the other side of our fear is our freedom. And that's a Kerry quote. I don't think I've copied that off of anyone. So
I like it.
yeah,
And the other, so say it again.
on the other side of your fear is your freedom.
Love it.
And the bigger the fear, the bigger the breakthrough.
Beautiful. On the
I
other
don't
side
think,
of your fear is your freedom.
yeah. And the bigger the fear, the bigger the breakthrough.
Beautiful.
I don't think I copied that off of anyone, but you never know because is there such thing as an original idea? Oh, we've 360 back.
And I had a thought on that too while you
Yes.
were off getting that. The bigger the
Mm-hmm.
breakthrough. Jot that down.
Mm-hmm.
So another book I read, Elizabeth Gilbert, she's the one that wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She
Yep.
did another book, and I'm again because this comes to me and I'm not prepared. I can't remember the name of it, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start putting all the things that we start talking about and then we get off track. I'm going to put them in the show notes so that if people are interested in what we are talking about,
Yes.
so whatever that book is, anyway, what she says in that, there's a part of that about she had this idea for a novel and it
Mm-hmm.
was going to be set in South America. And she had this idea and she was starting to do it. And then she decided, no, you know what? It's not happening. I'm not going to do that. And then she went on to do something else. A
Mm-hmm.
few years later, someone else wrote the exact book that she thought of.
Wow.
She didn't know them, but when she worked out who this was, and guys, if you know what I'm talking about and I'm getting this slightly wrong, just go with me because it's a good story. But it was about so the thoughts, awesome suggestions, ideas, inspiration. It's got its own little soul path as well, and it's going through the brains of the people that might make it come to fruition. It tried her, didn't
Mm-hmm.
go, so it went somewhere else because that story had to be born and it
Yeah.
wasn't going to work out in her brain. So the story went somewhere else. So back
Mm-hmm.
on, did we have an original thought? Maybe it swam around in our brains for a bit, and for whatever reason, it couldn't come to fruition with us. It
Mm.
needed to be born, so it went to someone else who could birth that
I
fully.
love that. It's like the energy of an idea, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
exactly.
I heard something very similar as well when Brene Brown wrote Atlas of the Heart,
Mm-hmm.
and that came out, and there was a fair bit of brouhaha in the self-development circles about that. And I think in one of the Facebook groups that I was in, one of the women, someone had written down, "Has anyone read this book? It's amazing." And in the comments, someone had written, "Oh my God, she has written all of my thoughts out on paper, and I can't help but feel a little resentful
Ah,
because I had that idea, but I never wrote it. But it was
fulfilled
what
it.
was in
Mm.
my heart." And someone underneath wrote something really interesting, and it was, sometimes it doesn't matter who says the words as long as the words are spoken.
Right.
And that can suck a bit when you were the first person that thought of
When
the
you
thing.
let something go that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
someone else had success with, you kind of kick yourself a little bit, but oh well.
Yeah, yeah, you do. Yeah.
Keep
And
space
it's
for
all,
what was meant for you.
yeah, yeah. And like 70% of us, like from a human design perspective, 70% of us have got open heads as well. So we're
Mm,
taking on the ideas and inspiration of other people and we're amplifying it, we're quadrupling it as well. But not
mm,
everything is for us. And
that's right.
people who have got the gate 11 as well in the ajna, that is called the gate of ideas. So oftentimes people who have got the gate 11 will, so Karen Curry Parker, who's like a human design guru, said that the people who've got the gate 11, it's like normal people go down to the river of ideas with a cup and they scoop up a cup of water from the river of ideas and they sip on that cup of ideas for the rest of their life. People with the gate 11 go down to the river of ideas with like 12 10-gallon drums, fill it up with all these ideas, and then go, what am I going to do with all these ideas? So when they talk about their ideas, not every idea, because it's a collective channel, so it means it's meant to be shared with everybody. So when they talk about their ideas, some of their ideas are actually meant to be picked up by other people and run with. But there can be some resentment from people who have got that gate because it's like, well, that was my idea, but yeah, it wasn't for you. It was meant to be shared. So,
Right.
yeah.
And maybe you sparked it so that someone else could run with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and
you
they
still
and they just
you
stood
still
on the
contributed.
shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just
There you
stood on
go.
your shoulders
There you
and
go.
ran with it. So yeah, that was a very interesting conversation.
Wasn't it? Oh my goodness. That I don't know how long that took, but should we get into our scenario?
Yeah, let's go into our scenario. Why not? But I hope that that served the room. Like what, I mean,
Yeah.
just knowing what is anxiety. Anxiety is a
Yes.
story you're making up about something that hasn't happened yet. And if
Yes.
you can change the story, then you can diminish your anxiety.
Yeah.
Don't say to me, oh, but I can't control my thoughts. If you can't control your thoughts, who the bloody hell can?
Then maybe you need a coach who can
Maybe you
give
need
you
a
some
coach.
practical tools on how to control that, because it is something that is like a muscle that gets stronger with time. The more you learn how to control something, the better you get at it.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like a roller coaster. Like the train sort of goes "Ooh," like that. And if you stop it there, you can quickly push it back up again. But if you
Yeah.
let it gather momentum, woo, it
The
gets up
harder it is to
miles an
stop.
hour.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yes. But yeah, maybe we should, promote our coaching skills as opposed to giving it all away on our
I know, right?
on our podcast.
So we are both available for hire, guys.
Excellent. All right. So what is
All
our
right.
scenario, Millsy?
Okay. So have you ever heard about when people steal another person's baby name?
That
Mhm.
happened
Or
on Friends, didn't it? Remember Rachel, when Rachel had Emma, that was what Monica was going to call her baby girl if she had a baby
oh,
girl.
forgot about that.
And yeah, so
That's
anyway.
why so many people refuse to share the name. They already have maybe their top three or something, and they're like, nope, 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 not sharing, not sharing,
hmm
because they don't want to run the risk of anyone stealing it, or other people are absolute resolute. The name is, nope, and
mm
no matter what happens, steal it if you want, but I'm going for it anyway. So
Yeah. But and there's a risk in both though, isn't it? Because there's a
there
risk in
is.
not sharing because if you don't share and then someone else picks up your name,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, the hands are in the air. Like, what could you do? You didn't tell me you're going to pick that
Mm.
name. But if you do, and then they choose it anyway, where do we go?
Yeah.
Anyway, talk
Let's
about
go
that
with it. Okay, so we've
scenario.
got a brother and a sister.
hmm
So this lady named her son the name she's always planned, even though her brother and her sister-in-law stole the name. Okay, my brother and his wife have every right to name their child whatever they want. I don't own a name, and I'd never try and control what name he names his kid. That being said, my husband has a traditional Irish name that I've loved for years. Since we started dating, we both agreed that if we had a son, we'd name him, and sorry if I'm saying this wrong, Oisin.
Mm.
Oisin, I think
Sounds like the
traditional
name of
Irish
a
name.
Japanese sauce.
Yeah, right.
We're probably
My
like
husband,
crucifying that name, so apologies. But
yeah,
that's how I would have pronounced it. Yeah.
Oisin is the spelling, Oisin.
hmm
My husband isn't just Irish in the my great great grandfather came over in the 1800s kind of way. He was born and raised in Galway. Neither my family nor my sister-in-law has any connection to Ireland. So my sister-in-law got pregnant at around the same time I did, and her son was born 2 months before ours, and they named him Oisin Miguel. I didn't get upset. It's a beautiful name, and we had already planned to use it. So when our son was born, we named him Oisin Daniel, just like I told her we would.
hmm
Now she's completely flipped out, saying two cousins can't share a name. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Their family is Hispanic. Half of the cousins are named Carlos or Camilla, and she's demanding either we call our son by his middle name, Daniel, or change it completely. I told her to back off. My mum is staying neutral, but was surprised that my brother and his wife chose an Irish name, especially as they knew that everyone knew that we were planning to use it. And she'd actually expected my brother to name his son after our late father.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, my husband's family, the Irish family, think the whole thing's hilarious. My family thinks my sister-in-law is overreacting, and she thinks I'm the bad guy for copying her. So that's our scenario, guys.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Millsy?
Oh, I mean, for a Hispanic family to take Oisin, which is an Irish name that they had no connection to,
Mm.
that's that's poor form.
Yeah.
I'm
And
actually
out of,
impressed that our lady isn't furious.
yeah,
She's like, yeah, no, go for it. It's a great
yeah,
name. I don't own a name. I think
yeah.
that's very mature of her, really.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and look, down the track, who knows? Babies don't always necessarily keep their given names. They might revert to middle names or nicknames or what have you.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm actually quite shocked that a family with no Irish connection has chosen an Irish name, knowing full well that the sister wanted to use it.
Yeah. And I mean, I would have to say, like, I'm pretty old now. Like, I'm 49 next month. I've been on this planet a fair while. I have not heard, and I've got quite a few Irish friends. I've not heard of that name ever. So they must have heard it from her. So, oh,
Mm,
are they standing on the shoulders of giants?
right,
But like,
right.
it's a very unusual name.
Hmm.
So they must have heard of it from her in some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah.
they
And she
have
wasn't shy in telling everyone that's the name. This is it. This is what we're
exactly,
using.
yeah, yeah. So I
So,
actually think it's a bit of a dick move by the brother and the sister-in-law. I think
mm,
to call their child that. I mean, especially when did they said in the thing that it was they were mostly Hispanic, weren't they? The
yes. And
family.
Miguel is the middle name.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Mm,
like, for them to choose an Irish name is very strange. I think the lady who had originally wanted to name their child Oisin is absolutely in the right, being very,
mm,
very mature about it. I think she should definitely not change her child's name, and they should just
mm.
live happy lives. And just whenever they meet up together, they're both going to be called the same thing, and that's absolutely okay. So, no, I don't think she's the a-hole at all.
Because she said that lots of cousins have got the same names
Mm,
from their background. So it's not, so
mm,
this is just another pair of cousins that share a name. So it's not
mm.
like that's an unusual thing necessarily in their family. I think because it is a bit of a standout name.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
I
I
think that
think,
our person who wrote in is very mature about all this because I
mm.
don't know that. Well, look,
Look, I'd be peeved if I had like a
yeah,
very original name like that, and then someone else took it. I'd be like, can't. And I don't know if I would name my child the same thing as well, but
yeah,
that's just me. And I don't know. Maybe I would feel completely different. Maybe I was like, oh well, I,
yeah,
I said it first, so I'm going to do it. Who knows? Who knows what I would do? But but yeah, it's I think it was a bit unfair that the first couple called their child that, knowing
yeah.
full well that
What
that
were
was
they
going to be.
thinking?
Yeah. But they're thinking, I really like the name and it sounds really original and I want it for my child. And she probably won't call her child that now because
We
we've
took
called
it.
our child it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
it's
I've
like
got
she
like
had called her bluff
pretty much, yeah.
and now
Yeah.
she's upset about it. Mm.
Yeah. And I think maybe a little bit of the mama bears come out in the sister-in-law as well, because it's like, when your baby comes out, there's a whole different dynamic of this is my baby kind of thing as well. It's like, well, my baby was here first and mine, so maybe there
Yeah.
might be a bit of an element of the
Very
mum there as
protective
well.
energy.
Yes, yes,
Um, and that's great. Mamas
yeah,
are there to protect their babies.
yeah. I think eventually the sister-in-law will get over it. I think the brother was pretty well over it, wasn't he? Like he was okay. The brother
Yeah.
didn't care. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think the sister-in-law will just eventually get over it. I've got a
Mm-hmm.
cousin who named her son Mason, and her
Mm-hmm.
brother's name was Jason. And I thought, oh, that's unusual that you would call Mason Jason. But I thought obviously she's liked Mason for a while, and maybe it's a bit of a nod to Jason. Who knows? So
Mm-hmm.
her brother. So you never know. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So oh well, yeah. I think they're just going to have to live
Anyway,
happily ever after with the same name, and sister-in-law is just going to have to deal.
I think the old me would have been a lot more upset than what now me is, because I've done, as coaches do, we go through our own journey of healing and bringing up, you know, going through
Mm-hmm.
our old wounding and clearing all that up. So
Mm-hmm.
I things just wash over me now. Like I just don't get bothered at all like I used to with things
Yeah.
like that. Might have triggered me off to some
Mm.
kind of meltdown in the past, and now, and it sounds like the new mum is just like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine.
Mm.
So maybe she's more got more growth behind her, that
Yeah.
she's because if she wasn't upset 2 months ago when the cousin got that name.
Or maybe she was, but she's had 2 months to calm down since.
Yeah,
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 because time heals all wounds. So
that's it.
maybe she did calm down a bit
Yeah.
in that 2 month period. But yeah.
So maybe if, and I guess don't forget that Hispanics historically might be known for being a little bit more spicier and a bit more
Mm.
emotional about things, perhaps that might influence why the sister-in-law is behaving the way she is.
Yeah, possibly. But yeah, I think that the lady who wrote this in is completely in the right, and I think that the
Yeah.
sister-in-law just needs to deal with it, because I think if she really looked into her heart of hearts, you know, into her higher self,
Mm-hmm.
like I think she would kind of know that maybe she may not have been quite in integrity by choosing that name in the first place.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
we've touched
so
on this before, is when you kind of get called out for not being in
mm,
integrity,
mm,
anger or resent, like a negative
yeah,
emotion can come in to kind of,
yeah.
I don't know, like cover your tracks or be a
Yeah, or the
distraction,
one
be a
that will,
distraction. Yeah.
yeah, the one that will get you to probably win will be that behavior that comes out. So anger is always a good one, because a lot of people back down from anger
Yes.
when they're faced with an angry person. So
Yes.
yeah, she thought, if I get angry, she'll back down. But this woman's just like, no, I'm not responding
That,
to that.
yeah, that doesn't trigger me. It's not going
Yeah.
to affect me. It's not
Mm,
going to make me change what was always going to be the name.
mm,
I think good on her. And
yeah.
they must have perhaps the last name to sort of back up the Irish first name.
Yeah. Well, one could be, OM, the other one OD. Like, oh,
Yeah.
actually, no, that's not great.
Om and odd.
OD, odd.
Here, little om. Here, little odd.
Yeah. No, I actually applaud the lady who had the new baby, who was always
Yeah.
going to name her child that. I actually
Yeah.
applaud the maturity around it. I think that that's.
Yeah, I do too.
And how
I
many
think,
times are the cousins going to be together? Like, really, unless they live next door to each other and they're gathering together all the time. Like, is it going to be Christmases, birthdays?
yeah.
You know. And the good thing is, like, when the first baby has their birthday and has like the happy birthday, Oyson, and then he's like, can we just borrow that banner for
Yeah.
for the next birthday?
Think
Yeah.
about all the money they could save with all the
Oh,
yeah,
all the shared clothes.
shared
Yeah.
merch.
Oh, the merch. And then everyone would be going, oh, what's your name? Oyson. I'd have to
Yeah.
ask my friend Sinead how you pronounce that name, because I'm sure we're crucifying the pronunciation of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apologies if there's
Yeah.
Irish people. Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
I do. I do. I applaud her maturity over that one as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
cool. We solved the problems of the world with that one.
Yeah. There wasn't
Yeah,
a lot to go into that in the end, was there?
not
How are
really,
we
no.
going for time? Let me
But that's
see.
why that's why I said maybe we should do two this week, because that first one was just
Does it
like
tell
bang,
us
bang,
how
bang.
long we've been going for?
I've got 43, 44 minutes, but we're gas bagging for probably a good 10 minutes before we hit record as well.
Oh,
So,
that's true too. All
mm,
right.
because we do that.
Okay. All
We do
right.
that. We catch up.
We
So
do
we've
have a
been,
backup. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this.
do we
We do
do
have
it?
another
All
scenario.
right. All right. Let's
Let me
go.
find it. And guys, listeners, participants, email us. Give us a
Yeah.
scenario.
Oh, yeah. Give
Something.
us something.
Give us something, because we're just finding this stuff on the Reddit internet. So
Mm,
okay, this one is am I the asshole for screaming shut up at my husband?
that's right. This is a good one. Yeah.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
He was on the phone with his mother on speakerphone, so she 100% heard it. I'm pretty sure I'm the asshole, but let's dig. I'm currently enrolled in online college and was working on a very elaborate and difficult assignment. I expressed to my husband many times that it was very stressful and I needed to put all of my attention and focus on my assignment and to please not speak to me until I was finished or I'll lose focus. Despite this, guess what? He kept talking.
No.
No. I responded with things like, I really need to focus on this right now. Please don't interrupt me, etc. Very calmly. Finally, after about an hour in, and I'm literally on the cusp of completing the assignment, on my final calculations, everything has led up to this moment. Here he comes for the 30th time to say something, and he angrily says, when are you going to come eat? Me, I'm almost done. Please don't interrupt my train of thought. Him, it's getting cold. Me, I'm almost done. Please don't interrupt me anymore. Him, when are you going to? Me, shut up. You can see this coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
I honestly didn't even mean to say that. I meant to repeat, I'm almost done. Please don't interrupt my train of thought a third time. But instead, shut up came flying out when I opened my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised that I said it and felt badly, and then felt embarrassed remembering that his mum was on the speakerphone with him. I feel like an asshole for obvious reasons, but I also feel like I was at an extremely high stress level doing the assignment, explained beforehand, probably at least 30 times, that I need to focus on it, and then throughout the entire hour, and kept calmly asking him not to interrupt me. So I feel bad that that I feel badly that this is what happened. But in fact, he did shut up after that, lol.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes it's like, like obviously she has had the patience of Job throughout that
Oh my
whole
goodness, right?
scenario, because like how many times, like, and also what you need to question as well is if she has asked politely, stated her boundaries very clearly, and it wasn't a big deal, it was just a cold dinner that was at stake. She stated it very clearly 30 odd times beforehand, and obviously two sides to every coin and all the rest of it. But what would it have taken for him to actually listen? It obviously, what it would have taken was a big shut up.
Yeah.
So, like,
that was the outburst that was needed to actually get him to listen.
Yeah, yeah. And everyone has their limits. Everyone has their limits. If I was 30 times, I don't think I would have lasted 30 times. And I
Me
probably
too.
would have gotten very, very short, very quickly. But by very quickly, maybe about half the time, I probably would have gone, you know what?
Yeah.
Like, what do I need to do to get the,
Yeah.
for you to understand? Yeah. And look, let's go back to good old, Jeff and Julie. Is it Jeff? John and Julie Gottman. When it comes to
The
awkward
formula. Yep.
conversations, yeah, the formula. It's like what I need from you is this. Like it's like I'm feeling like you're disrespecting my boundaries because you keep on coming and interrupting after I've asked you so many times to not. This is so important to me. What I need from you is to just not pretend I'm not here for like an hour. That's what I need from you. So every time you think about an awkward conversation, go back to that formula because it will serve you every time. And
so it's the I feel such and such, and I need.
Yes, I feel because of as well. And the good thing about the because of is when you pinpoint a specific scenario, you can't go into the extremes of like you always interrupt me, you never shut up, and it's like, oh yeah, well look, I shut up back in February 1983. Remember that time? So they can't find a loophole. So you say what it is that you actually feel. So obviously her triggering emotion was I'm pissed off, but it's actually the underlying. What is the underlying thing? Well, actually, I'm pissed off because you've disrespected my boundaries. So speak from that, not from that. I feel disrespected because I've stated my boundaries lots of times and you keep ignoring them because of your constant interruptions when I've asked you to not. Yeah, and what I need from you is pretend I'm not here for an hour, and please, like,
and it sounds like she was probably 5-10 minutes away from whatever she had to do. She was on the cusp. I'm thinking to myself, he's not a child.
Mm.
Like even my kids, if I said I just need 1 hour, I think even my kids would probably leave me alone.
Yeah.
I know they follow me into the shower. They follow, these
Yeah.
kids follow me and do things. And, they know you're on the phone. They want a piece of
Mm-hmm.
you when you're not unavailable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But a grown ass man,
Mm.
and he can't, what, 30 times in an hour or so,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
bad.
He needs to, yeah. And definitely when everything's calmed down, have that conversation with him, like when your heart rate's
Mm,
below 100, like,
yep.
and when the eye of the
When,
when the hurricane has passed, that's
yes.
the time to
Never
have
in the heat of
the
the moment. Yep.
never try and build your camp when in a storm. It just doesn't work. So yeah, always make sure the weather is calm, the birds are
Mm-hmm.
chirping, the sun is shining, then have that conversation when everybody's calm. And then say, look, this is why I blew up, my love, and I'm sorry I said it the way I did, but can you understand how important this was to me?
Mm,
And yeah, the lack of interruption was very important. So yeah,
mm.
yeah,
Like,
I
and this the setback that she might have gone through, and then of course, then the loop comes in of, oh shit, what have I done? And
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and she probably didn't end up finishing the assignment anyway because it's because then she was thinking, oh, I shouldn't have
what have I
yelled.
done?
But yeah, it brings me back interestingly, like what you said as well about he's a grown ass man and he should.
Mm,
There's this expectation that women, I believe, and I'm happy to be wrong, but women should drop everything at any given time to serve children and husbands. So, we have been brought up by human doers.
society,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And we've been brought up by human givers to
Mm-hmm.
be a human giver because that's what
Mm-hmm.
was modeled to us, that's what we were shown. Even telepathically, we probably raised to be expected to be serving
Mm-hmm.
children, older parents, and husbands. And so there's that expectation that we will always put them first no matter what. And if you don't, well, then you're a shitty mother, you're a shitty wife, you're a shitty person, kind of thing. So there may be like an undercurrent of that going on as well. It brings me back to
From him
when,
or from her?
sorry, from
From him or from her? Where was the undercurrent
um
coming from?
I'd say from him because
Yeah. Okay.
he's always at her, at her, at her, at her, and maybe she has always been available before, and so this is something new for him.
Uh, Again,
No,
and that's that significance thing, searching for significance, and he didn't have any in that moment.
yeah, perhaps so.
Mm.
But it takes me back to remembering there was a reel that was going around a little while ago, and there was a lady who had just finished a marathon of some sort,
I
and
know
yet
the one.
you know this one, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
already know it.
And the
Oh,
husband was there about 10 meters before the finish line. And as she's running, so this woman has trained for months. She has put her heart, mind, body, soul working
yeah.
towards this goal of running this marathon. And the husband, like 10 meters before the finish line, not after the finish line, which is only like 10 meters that way, thrusts the children in front of mum to congratulate her. And she's almost there. And it's like, there was this expectation that she was to drop to her knees and hug her children before the finish line, and she
Or
sort of
pick them up
dodged.
and they
Yeah,
share the celebration with her.
and she sort
I
of
know.
dodged around them, and like so it's like he wouldn't even allow her to have her moment in the sun.
I
He
saw
had to
that too. That
remind her
was infuriating.
that she was a mother as well. Just reminding
Like,
you, you got a husband and kids. Don't get too big. Like it's just
and
like
then he had the audacity to like, what have I what have
yeah,
I done?
I know. Yeah. It's like how about you get to like stage 52 of like, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto, whatever it is, like,
Yeah.
and the next thing you know, we unplug the TV and go, oh, the kids want something, love. Like, it's the same sort of thing. It's like, I mean, not that we've ever played that. I don't even know what how that
Yeah,
even
yeah. I get
was.
you.
But you know what I mean? It's like something that's so important to them. And
Yeah.
it's like, or like for my husband, for example, if he was reeling in like I don't know, barramundi or whatever, and then I thrust a
Yeah.
child in front of him and said, "Oh, here, can you deal with this?" It's like, you know, yeah, yeah.
So what
It's
is
like
this something that something about men not being able to let women have their moment?
I think it may not even be. I think it might be just like the much deep. Like we're probably going like 10 layers in far
Yeah.
too deep than what the
Yeah.
scenario
And this
requires.
is
So I don't think
all
it's
on the subconscious levels, right? We don't
yeah,
actively do this sort of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
and what
But I
seems like a
think
good idea
maybe
at the time.
there's that
Yeah.
societal unconscious expectation that women are at the beck of call of men and children.
Mm.
And he was shocked that she was deciding to be unavailable.
It's like talk to the hand. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
that
I'm
was
I'm doing
unacceptable
what
to
I
him.
need to do. Yeah.
Mm,
And didn't like that he wasn't getting the full interaction that he was maybe used to getting.
mm, yeah. Or just the
Finding
complete,
reasons.
well,
Yeah.
it was either that or it was like just a complete like ignorance of her needs, which I don't
Mm,
know what's worse,
mm,
or a complete lack of awareness around her needs, which is
right.
like, I'm not same, but different. But like, what's worse? Like, he is so completely unattuned to his
Hmm.
wife's needs. Like, this is his significant partner, his secure connection,
Hmm.
his secure attachment figure. But yet he is so unattuned to what she needs, which is
Yeah.
a bit
I've been
scary.
tone deaf, really,
Yeah, and it might
to
kind of
your
indicate
spouse. Yeah.
where they are in the relationship as well. Like, if he is that, if that ignorant or just doesn't care or is unaware of
Mm,
what her needs are, what's the relationship like?
mm,
Like, I know this is going very deep from that scenario, but like, it would be interesting to dive into that, wouldn't it? Like, is this something that is ongoing throughout the relationship? Because it sounds like this isn't anything new to her either. It wasn't like she was like, oh, I didn't expect him to keep on coming in the door, but here he kept on coming in. It's like
mm.
it wasn't a surprise that he was doing it. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting, isn't it?
It
That
is. And as always, we're only given limited information and we don't know the backstory and we don't know what else is going on in that house. I mean, maybe look, we could come up with a lot of different stuff. But
mm,
yeah, just respecting your partner's needs,
mm,
respecting your partner's or wanting them to succeed. Why would you throw something at them when they're literally on the cusp? Whether it's on the case of I need 5 more minutes and I've got my breakthrough, or I'm 10 meters away from finishing a marathon. Like,
mm.
what is it about letting them shine or letting them finish or letting them fulfill whatever they're doing first and
Yeah.
then being there to
and
celebrate
it,
with them?
and it doesn't have to be about you all the time. And this goes for men and women as well.
Yeah,
Like, if
yeah,
men are in the middle of a moment where they're going to shine, if you're in a secure attached relationship, let them shine, because the reason why
yeah,
you're in a relationship is to allow each other to be the best version of each other possible. Like,
yeah.
why would you go, hey, but what
Be the,
about me?
be
Like,
their strength. Don't take the limelight off of them, or don't diminish. Like, them having less doesn't give you more.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you
I
don't need
love
to
that.
diminish their light and get in their face and take any of their whatever they're getting.
Yeah, like, yeah, dulling their light doesn't make your
Yes,
light brighter.
right. That's what I
Yeah,
was. Thank you. That's
I
what I
got,
was. I
I could
know.
speak Millsy there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah,
there's yeah, yeah. That brought
mm,
up a lot of feels for me when I saw that dad with the kids at the finish line of that race. That was
it was
terrible
so
behavior.
unfair of him, wasn't it? It
So
was like,
rude.
can I not just? It's not like you want to forget that you're a wife
You've
and a
done it
mother,
in
but can
spite
you
of it.
just have
Yeah,
something that is just you? Yeah, that is
yeah,
just, this is a, you're a part of what makes me me, but this is also a part of what makes me me as
yeah.
well. So let me have this as well.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's very interesting. I think it's like we've actually opened up a whole other can of worms on just that one scenario for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think it needs to be said though, but there is always that underlying societal expectation that women are meant to not quite have it as free and breezy because we've got
Mm,
more commitments or whatever. It's, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. And whether that be the case or not, I don't know, but that's my feeling towards it.
yeah, yeah. I
Mm,
think you're right. I think we've all got that undertone of matriarchy versus patriarchy sort of
mm, mm.
vibes in us. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But that's a heavy topic that we probably don't
Hmm.
want to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
going down. Well, we can maybe get into that more another day.
We could, yeah, but we've already been on for like an hour. So
Yeah,
people are getting
yeah.
sick of us probably. And maybe, yeah, I don't know. Well, if you've gone beyond the 20-second mark, which not a lot of people have, as we found
If
out
you've
the other.
gotten this far, guys,
I
tell
know.
us
Well
what
done.
do you love us blabbing on, and or do we
Mm,
stick to scenarios? Give us some feedback, guys, about
yeah.
what makes you want to tune in more. Do you want to just hear
Yes.
us gab away? Because we can do that all day long.
And twice on Sunday.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I
yeah. What do you
know.
want to hear? Do you want to hear more about coachy stuff? Do you want to hear more about woo woo? Do you want, because we could talk about that all day
Oh,
as well.
yeah.
There's heaps that we could talk about. So yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Please write in. Now, Amelia Dar, you
Yes.
have got a program starting on
Yes.
the 9th of January. Tell us all about that.
Oh my gosh, it's in a few days' time.
I
Yes.
know. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good actually. Yeah, feeling excited.
Excellent.
So yes, so it's rediscover your spark. Again, what we're a bit, just as women, we tend to put on all the masks and expectations of society and everyone else around us, and sometimes we forget who we are just that little bit. So it's getting back in touch with what lights us up inside. We all have a spark in us, and it can get dimmed and it can lose its shine sometimes. So there's some practical tips in there. There's woo woo. I'm going to do a bit of a reading on everyone. I've got some sort of semi meditation type things. More, it's not like I'm going to do a meditation in the session itself, but I'm going to um, give like inspire a meditation that you can do yourself in your own time to just kind of really dig deep, because you can be in meditation for an hour. We don't have time for that. It's a 45-minute
Mhm.
course over 4 weeks, so I'm really excited about presenting it to people, so get on board.
Excellent. So you can
um,
email us at millsandkez@gmail.com if
that's
you want to
it.
jump on board and let Millsy know that you want
Yeah,
in. It is
yeah.
only like it is cheap as chips. It's $99. Is that right?
$99 is the price. You get 4 weeks of 45 minutes, and you also get a half an hour one-on-one with me. So because we're talking about triggers and how to work through them, and if you find that you might need a little bit of extra support on that, I love triggers. I love helping people work through triggers. I love working shadow parts. Love that, bringing shadow parts to life, which means that you're disempowering them so that they don't rule you unawares.
Mm-hmm.
Love that
Yeah.
stuff. I love
Yeah.
the juicy, juicy stuff. It
Stuff.
is, yeah. You just, yeah, you just want to bite into that. So yeah, that's so I'll link where you can find, and Kerry's got a program coming up soon too, so you can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Solar Ignite and Energetic Arts Kickery. This is, yeah,
That's it.
pre-recorded, 10 weeks, self-paced, energetic kick up the backside, to get you aligned to what it is that you want. Even if you don't know what it is you want, this will align you to what it is that you want, and get you energetically aligned with it, get your emotions backing what it is that you want, working through fear, the biggest fears that hold us back, and also talking about human design towards the end as well, like what gifts and talents does each of the human design types have, so you can rely and lean on that energy to achieve what it is that you want to achieve.
Mm.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Starts on
Let's
the
talk
13th.
about some human design more in our next one, because I've got a whole lot of questions I want to ask about human design. And I
Yeah.
thought probably won't get into it right now. We need to
Yeah.
wrap it up. But
Absolutely.
that's definitely something I want to pick your brain over. Maybe I could interview you. How would that be? What
Yes,
do you
I
think,
love
guys?
it.
Shall I
Make it all
interview
about
Kez? All
me.
right. What I need, guys, either put it in the comments wherever you are. If you're
Yeah.
watching on Facebook, put it in the comments or
Questions.
email, and I can maybe next week or in a couple of weeks, we'll see how we go. I'll interview you, and then maybe you can interview me another time on
Yes,
whatever you
any
want.
human design questions that you have, email them in and Millsy will ask me and I will tell you all about
So
it.
it's a
That's a
bit like
great idea.
a Q&A.
Yes, yes. And we'll put that in our
Yeah.
socials as well to
Yeah,
say,
let's do that.
any HD questions. That sounds
A
juicy.
Q&A HD interview.
Yeah.
Coming up next.
Coming up. We'll get a
See?
few questions together and then we'll
Yeah.
Yep, sounds good.
Let's do that.
Beans. Yay.
All right.
Let's
How are
wrap
we
it up.
doing? If you've
Pretty
stuck with
good.
us, thanks, guys. We love doing this and we
Yeah.
love the thought of you guys getting something out of it.
Yeah. 100%.
Always.
100%. Yep. Excellent. All right, guys. Well, that's it from us.
Okay.
Follow us on our YouTube, on our Spotify. We haven't got an Instagram,
Facebook.
have we? No, we haven't.
No.
Because we live in different cities, we can't be taking photos of each other. We'll have to Photoshop each other.
Let's do one now. You lean in.
Okay, ready? Hang on, hang on. That side.
Oh, you're on that side. Oh.
Hang
Go, go the other way. Go the other way.
hang
Yeah, yeah. Click.
on.
All right. Yeah,
All right.
I'm in Adelaide. Kez is in Melbourne. Yeah. I know.
Don't get us started.
I know. All right.
It's got to change.
We're going to have to do this live one day, as in together.
Oh,
Does that make interstate travel a tax deduction?
yes, it does. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
All
It's
right. All right, guys.
happening.
We need to do this. Okay. All right. You know what's
All
coming,
right.
right? Okay. Next time.
Bye, everyone.